So what is best to to need and not to have, or to have and not being used? So that's where the, you know, we don't have a proper fire station, but we are a community. Whenever something happens, we all get together, but we should have one. We should have at least a medical room properly established that they can I don't know, just stabilize someone, prepare them to go. And it happens, okay, it happens. So I guess probably, but the main reason was probably the medical part. What would happen if somebody got. We did have people that died from COVID, but those were people that were transferred to the mainland. Yes. My mom, she got to be very, yes, she was very lucky. And as a family, we thought, if mom gets to be transferred, we're not gonna see her again. But thank God that didn't happen. However, we got enough resources on the island, and we were able to set up a COVID room, and these people were tended to, and they had the best care possible. And she wasn't the only one, a lot of others, and they all had the best care possible, you know. So that was great. As always, everybody on the island came together. Everybody had to purchase oxygen and get meds. And if you had been sick, and if you had 2 or 3 some of your meds that was left over that you weren't using anymore, you would hand it to the other person, because at that time those meds were very demanded. It wasn't like you could find them in any drugstore or so forth. So all of that happened. Community still, it's still there. So I think that's why a lot of foreigners actually come, not just only for the physical beauty of the island, but for what community means here on the island. But as you keep getting more and more and more people to come and don't understand the meaning of community to its utmost, then that actually gets a little bit lost. Yeah.
I don't know how much more time you have, but I have a shifting gears question.
Okay.
As you talk about all the change and the more population and environment changing, development, etc., are there special places on this island that are really important in your memory, culturally, historically, that have shifted over time that you can talk about, that have changed?
Yes, I can say that when I was much younger. Yeah. Okay. So when I was much younger, we have a celebration. We call it sunrise service. That takes place on Sunday, Easter Sunday. When I was little, that service would take place at the bridge.
Like La Punta?
Yes, at the bridge in La Punta. That's where it took place. But as the island grew, then we went further. Then it was on a section where before we called it the old airstrip. Further. Then we actually moved there to a section. Now, last year, 2020, we didn't have that service because of the pandemic, and we were restricted to be out and gather and so forth. 2021, we didn't have the service because it rained and it rained and it rained, so there was not going to be any sun to look at. Okay, so but this year we had the transfer from where we have always did it for so many years, because that's that section was now owned by a real estate, and then a building was being done there. So now we were like, where are we to have?
This is not on Bandu, but further.
Oh, way further.
Further where trade lands.
Okay.
Trade winds.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It was what is the name of this place? Sandstone. I think it's Sandstone. That's the part we held it for many years.
Once it got bigger, yeah.
Yes, but now, like this year now, 2022, we had to have our service elsewhere.
Where did you go?
We went further down into Trade Winds. Further down. It's called Paradise Cove. I don't know if you guys. Okay,
yeah.
So it was beautifully addressed and set up for the meeting, but we had to move all the way there. So those things are actually being lost, because if anything was to happen, that the owners of this lot would decide you guys can't have it anymore, and we go to that side of the island because that's where the sun rises. Okay. So what is it going to happen? How further out are we gonna do? Are we gonna end up in Pumpkin Hill or what? So
and Pumpkin Hill is becoming owned too. That's
Pumpkin Hill is owned.
Yeah.
You know.
So that would be what would be so interesting and probably very important. It sounds like is to get like historic markers protected somehow to say this is a culturally significant site.
Yes.
And I mean, I know that takes you're going to do this because you're our lawyer, but that takes an act of legislation. Yes. But even when things are privatized, if you had a policy or legislation that said this is protected, people would still have the right to use this space.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So we don't have that. So things like that has changed. Even though the law states that the beaches are public. But your landmark ends right where the beach began. But how do I get from the street to the beach?
You swim.
You can't even
That's true.
because
No,
you can't get to the shore.
Yes.
Yes.
Have you seen any or heard of anybody being restricted from entering?
Yes, we hear it all the time. We're like, what was so and so doing on my beach? And we're like, it's not your beach, Mom. I mean, your landmark ends where it ends. Your landmark doesn't go into the. But what happened is that before Mitch, the amount of feet or meters that you were allowed from the beach was much more greater. So then you had a certain amount. But when Mitch came for more investors and developers to be able to, bring up the country, then that was transferred for it to be less. So anyone building a hotel or whatever, they will be much closer to the beach, and that would sell better. So that's where it comes now that and then Utila is very beautiful, but we don't have as many meters or kilometers of sandy beach. We don't. So yeah.
We gotta go.
Yes. Sorry.
No, this was so great, and I'll be back.
Yes.